It is you with you. You're not against yourself. You're not competing with yourself. You're not competing with others. It is just you going down a path in life to just grow and flourish into that better version of yourself. Your happiness cannot be based off of moments that literally last only for a moment. Hey love, welcome back to the channel. If this is your very first time, my name is Toni. Thank you so much for being here. If this is not your first time, then thank you for coming to rock with me again. We've got a good one, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So I feel like it was put on my heart today to talk about this subject as far as pulling yourself out of that competitive mindset. So we are going to talk about how we can pull ourselves out of being in competition with the rest of the world and really and truly just actually beginning to win, because honestly, we're already winning right now. We just don't realize it. So let's go into 5 things that I did in order to really pull myself away from that competitive mindset and kind of my realizations about it. And you know, of course, it wouldn't be me unless I was doing some makeup and running my mouth at the same time. So I'm going to do just a very simple look today, nothing special, just really basic, because I want to keep more of the focus on the topic rather than focusing on my actual makeup look today. The first thing that I feel like I really and truly began to reflect on is how much feeling in competition can have you in a very negative mindset. And honestly, it happens without us even really realizing it. It's like an unconscious thing that begins to kind of take shape within our identity as far as these negative emotions that begin to form when we put ourselves in that competitive mindset. So, and I'm guilty. Let me just say this right now. I am guilty of feeling a lot of these negative emotions, which is why I really had to kind of have a come to Jesus meeting. I guess we'll call it that. I really had to have a come to Jesus meeting with myself to be like, you know what, girl, you need to slow down and get your thoughts together. But I want us to kind of sit and reflect. So obviously, social media, I feel like, is one of the driving forces that make us feel like we're in that competitive season, right? And some people are not guilty of this at all. And if you're not, then you're amazing. And I wish I had your strength, because I wasn't set up that way. But, you know, I feel like social media has really put all of us in that very driven mindset as far as hustle type season and being competitive, because all of us want the lifestyle. Let's just be honest with ourselves. All of us want that lifestyle. You might not want a luxury lifestyle, but all of us want that lifestyle to be able to get up whenever we please and not have to answer to anybody, have our own business, be able to travel and work around the world. All of us would love that. I mean, and again, I can't speak for everybody, so let me just rephrase and speak for myself. I would love that. So I began to have those negative emotions building up because I would see what others had, envy, and wish that I had it, and why am I not at that status? And then I would see what they've, you know, afforded themselves, the kind of lifestyle they've afforded themselves, jealousy, like, you know, all of these negative emotions beginning to take shape in my, you know, unconscious mind. And again, like it began to shape my output on, you know, things that I was doing, my outlook as far as what I thought I was capable of and things like that. So it just really began to make me, you know, embody these negative emotions that I never really had. I mean, I'm not a negative person. I've never been. I honestly am a person that really truly does like to see everybody win. But when we're such in a competitive mind space and not feeling like we are where we're supposed to be, you kind of start getting these negative emotions. So I wanted to say all that to kind of give you backstory as to why I kind of went on this journey as to figure out, why am I doing this in the first place? Because clearly these negative emotions aren't doing anything for me but making me feel bad about myself, making me feel like I'm, you know, behind and less than others and all of that. So that, now that we have that out of the way, now we can kind of get into the 5 things that I did to really change my mindset and get me back focused on just me it's a you versus you. And actually, I want to kind of get into that later. But right now, let's just keep it at this is you versus you. You are not in competition with the world. So let's get into the number one thing that I did. I needed to begin to control my thoughts as far as what hustle season is and what does hustle season mean for me. Hustle season, I feel like it's great in the beginning. It's your way of staying committed to yourself and really proving to yourself, like, I can do this, I can stay committed, I can, achieve the goals that I have. But hustle season, especially when you begin to realize how heavy the markets are. I'm not going to say oversaturated, because honestly, I feel like every market is oversaturated. Doesn't matter what it is. So we're just going to say heavy in a market. Once you realize how heavy a market is and you kind of see your placement, especially if you're a beginner or you're just starting off, you see that, you're at the bottom of the totem pole. Everybody starts there. So you begin to work, and then you begin to work, and then you work harder and harder and harder and harder to the point where you begin to lose your passion. You begin to feel empty. You don't feel as driven anymore, because at that point, what you thought you were passionate for and the goals that you really thought that you had have now become a job. And it's become a job that you begin to somewhat feel as though it's hard to obtain. So I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of being so caught up in my work that I just lost sight of everything else. I lost sight, and I felt like I was beginning to lose time as well with my loved ones, because I was so obsessed with working. I was so obsessed with getting ahead and making it to that next level and gaining more followers, gaining more subscribers. I just got so driven that I was beginning to really and truly feel burned out. I was completely burned out. I was getting to a point where I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore, because I felt like I was getting nowhere. But that feeling, that thought process of feeling like you're not getting anywhere really and truly stemmed from that hustle season mentality and feeling like I have to constantly be working to get ahead of everybody else. And one thing that I really am a believer in, and I have really sat back and thought about this because I am trying to grow spiritually, which is a totally separate different thing, but what is for me is not going to pass me by. What is for you is not going to pass you by. Trust me when I say all of the opportunities that are for me are already established. All of the opportunities that are for you are already established. And trust and believe that you are being talked about in rooms right now that you just don't know. You're not aware of it yet, but you're being talked about right now in rooms for those opportunities that are meant for you. So regardless, now I'm obviously not telling you that you just sit down and wait for the opportunities to fall in your lap. Like, no, you still have to work, but don't become obsessed with hustling so hard that you lose sight of everything else, because that is an easy way to start feeling empty. And I promise you, it's like once I adapted this thought process and I was like, okay, I'm not in competition with anybody else, so I don't have to overly hustle all the time. I can just do my level of work, do great at the level of work that I'm doing. And it was almost like this huge weight was just like it was lifted off of my shoulders. Oh my gosh, I almost burped, excuse me. I felt like this huge weight was pretty much like lifted off of my shoulders because I just felt free again. I felt free to create and to create on my own time, my own schedule, and not feeling like I have to just show up at the same times that everybody else is. Now, like I said, keep a schedule. Show up on the days that you know you can be committed to. Like I said, you still have to work, but just don't become obsessed with it. So that is my number one tip. If you are somebody who is really trying to pull yourself away from being in such a competitive mindset with the rest of the world, pull yourself away. What is for you, and you have to believe that. My number two thing that I did as far as to really pull myself from that competitive mindset and really focus on me winning myself is I recommitted to testing the waters. And what I mean by that is, think about it. You might be an established influencer or creator already, or maybe you're someone who is still growing, but you've had success in certain areas with a certain style of content, and you have found yourself only creating that style of content. But maybe you want to create other types of content as well, but you're afraid to, because you see what has been working and you want to stick to what works because you want to focus on the number growth. I have had to take myself away from this thought process. And the reason being is because I am by nature a creative person, okay? So that means that I cannot box myself in. That is one way that I easily lose passion, and I've done it before, and that's why I've committed to myself to be like, no, I have to create all kinds of content. The content that I enjoy specifically, I can't box myself into one caliber or one style of content. I can't do it. There was a company, and obviously I can't tell you guys what company it was because I did end up working with them in the end, but there was a company that, you know, they were giving their suggestion on how I can better my views and engagement. And they gave a suggestion, and their suggestion was, and I almost literally quote verbatim, stop doing other styles of content. You should post this style only on your platform, and you should post at this particular time of day, and you should not do any other styles of content. And I was very offended by that. And I was offended because that takes away from who I am as a creator. That takes away from me as an individual and creating the things that I like, and, you know, staying true to myself. Because I don't know if you guys, again, if you haven't been here before, that's something that I say in a lot of my videos, is you have to be authentic. You have to show up and be yourself, because more than anything, the relatability factor is the most important thing. I really began to realize in that moment that I didn't want to box myself in. I didn't want to box myself in. And again, if that's something that works for you, maybe you have figured out what works for you and you've had consistent growth, by all means, keep doing that. But for me, it was something that I just could not do, because I don't just do one thing. I don't just do makeup. I don't just do hair. I don't just do self growth and personal growth type topics. I do pretty much anything and everything whenever I feel like it, and that's who I am. That's what makes me me. That's what makes me my own person and my own individual creator, is because I enjoy doing multiple different styles of content. And there is a piece of hair that is stuck. There we go. Number 3 thing that I did is I began to start pouring into my craft. I began to stop worrying about all of what everybody else had going on, and I began to really focus back on pouring into my craft of content creation. I don't want to say this and be offensive, so please know I'm not trying to be offensive in any way. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm so passionate about creating content. I'm so passionate about it. I just love it. I'm passionate about it. But I don't think I've ever heard a person, and again, obviously I haven't listened to any and everybody in the world, clearly, but I've come across, you know, several videos, and I hear people say, oh, I'm just passionate about creating content. I needed to give myself more of a reason than a surface level value response of saying, I want to create content. And for me, you have to understand, I am someone who is driven by passion a lot. Once my passion is gone, it's gone and it's not coming back, and I will quit. And I will be totally okay with quitting and just being like, I throw in the towel, I give up, whatever. So for me, I had to figure out my passion quickly, because again, being in hustle season and trying to keep up and trying to, you know, outdo everybody else that's posting, I began to feel that burnout, and I was beginning to be like, oh my gosh, something's not right. I'm about to quit because I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling burnt out. What's going on? So I really had to sit and reflect on, why am I doing what I'm doing? Obviously, I had my reasons in the beginning, but I feel like I lost sight of those reasonings, or those reasons, not reasonings, but I lost sight of those reasons because I was such in a hustle season, and again, trying to outdo everybody else, that I forgot why I started in the first place. So I really sat down and I began to think about this. And what I came up with was, I wanted to continue telling my story. And I'm not talking just, like right now I'm hopping on here doing a story time type, video, but I like telling the story of any and everything I can get my hands on. I like making products come to life. Like, you see people take like just makeup products, home products, whatever kind of product, and you can create a visual, and it's almost like you're telling a story for that product. I enjoy the storytelling feature of content creation. I had to get back to doing what I was doing based off of my passion. So I began to really pour into my craft, and I began to take my focus off of showing up like everybody else was and doing the same thing that everybody else was because it's working for them. I stopped doing that, and I really got back to doing my art based off of the love and the fuel of the passion being behind storytelling. This also allowed me to get back to understanding how to show up as a creator for my individual self. I love aesthetic. Everybody is not an aesthetic type person. I love aesthetic because, again, I like creating a story behind anything. So a picture can tell a story, a visual can tell a story, and I like making things look pretty. I mean, that's all I can call it, is I like making things look pretty. So I really began to focus on, okay, how do I want to show up, and how do I want people to see me? What is their first impression going to be? The number 4 thing that I did in order to just really focus on myself and get myself out of feeling like I'm in competition with the world. It's gonna sound a little cliche, but you'll get why I'm saying what I'm saying after I explain it. So my 4th thing that I did was I recommitted to the journey. And I know that you guys have probably heard people say that a million times, and y'all probably like, again, oh, that's so cliche and sad. But let me explain why. For me, it's more from a spiritual aspect. And if you are not a, faith-based person, then you might want to skip ahead. I don't know. But we are about to talk about God all up through here. I feel like here lately, God has really been showing me things, talking to me in very clear ways about how important it is to be on God's timing. And here lately, sometimes we'll ignore things and ignore things and ignore things until finally we just like, it's just literally like bam in your face. And I feel like that's what God was revealing to me. Every single thing that I came across, every single person that I talked to, all was confirming, wait for my timing. And it was just something that was in my spirit heavy. Wait for my timing, wait for my timing. And I'm talking about way more than just from content creation and my career and all of that, like things in my personal life. Very clear as day, I just felt like God was saying, wait for my timing. I am recommitting myself to surrendering to being on God's timing. What you have planned for yourself is only a little droplet of what God has in store for you. So with that being said, I had to recommit myself to operating on God's timing and surrendering to being on God's timing, because a lot of what I was doing to myself was focusing on what I wanted to do and when I wanted it to happen. And nowhere through there was I acknowledging God. Nowhere through there was I saying, okay, God, is this what you have for me right now? Should I wait? Do I need to be patient? I just was not acknowledging God in any of my steps. So I feel like, one, God needed me to learn a few more lessons, but I also feel like God has been protecting me from something. Whatever that something is, I don't care. I don't need to see it, because obviously God doesn't want me to experience that. But I also feel like there has been, I won't call it a delay, but for lack of a better word, there's been a delay in my transition period, because there is something, like I said, it's either a lesson or something that God is protecting me from. Either way, my goal, or not my goal, my only responsibility is to surrender to God's timing and allow for God's plan to unfold. So my fifth and final thing that I did in order to just really pull myself out of that competitive mindset and actually begin to win and feel like I'm winning in my life is I had to adopt the thought process that time doesn't exist. You know, I feel like that's one thing that happens to all of us, regardless of whatever it is in life that you're trying to do. We all put this timestamp, and really and truly, it's a societal timestamp. We operate in a society that forces us to believe that we have to have certain things achieved by a certain time. So obviously, buy the white picket fence house by 30, be a millionaire by 35, 40, travel the world by 40, have your kids in your 30s. I mean, there are all these just different social norms, if you want to call them, or whatever, social timestamps that exist, and we operate by them by default because that's just the system that we were raised in. So naturally we act in the way that society has taught us. I don't know how many years I spent, you guys, thinking that I was delayed. I just had this ongoing thought that, oh, I'm late. I'm late because I don't have a bachelor's degree. I'm late because I haven't bought a house yet. I'm late because, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I lived in this negative mindset, constantly thinking that I was behind, even with my social media, you know, career that I'm building. When I first started, I saw all of these younger girls, because my job, I mean, I used to watch YouTube, but I never watched it consistently, and I never really kept up with people. But over the past several years, there are certain influencers that I have kept up with just because they inspire me, you know. So nonetheless, there are a certain few that I watch. So when I first started watching these girls as I returned to YouTube, I'm like, oh my gosh, these girls are in their 20s, traveling the world. They got these luxury cars. They have this, they have that. And again, that's where jealousy and envy kicked in. But it also made me realize, oh my gosh, I'm late. I'm too late. I'm trying to start a YouTube career at 31. And I'm 32 now, but I just kept playing in my head, I'm late. Like, it's not gonna happen for me, I'm late. That is a lie. You are not late. You are never too late to do anything. It's so funny too, because I feel like this was another confirmation that I got from God. There was a post that I saw on like 2 different platforms in the different days. And it was not the same post. They were similar posts, but I saw them like on one platform one day and on another platform another day. But it was basically a message saying there was a CEO at 30 who died at 50, and there was a CEO that became a CEO at 50 and is still alive at 90. And it just gave all these different examples of basically saying your timing is your timing. It's nobody else's timing. It has, it just has nothing to do with anybody else. And whatever is your journey is your journey. So it's perfectly okay that I'm starting my YouTube career off in my early 30s, because this was the timing that I was supposed to do it. So I say all that to say, regardless of whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish for yourself, whether that be YouTube, whether that be wanting to be a CEO, whether that be wanting to be a model, whatever the timing is, it's your timing. And I'm sorry, I was looking for my powder. Whatever the timing is, it's your timing. It does not matter if you are a little bit later than everybody else, because you can still do great things at this stage in life, starting a little later, that person accomplished a little bit earlier on. You still have the opportunity to hit those same milestones, make the same amount of money, travel the world and visit the same kind of places. You still have time. So that is the fifth and final thing that I really, really had to adopt in order to become happier. Honestly, it's not you versus you. I know the title of the video says it's you versus you, but really and truly, it's a you with you situation. You with you situation, meaning that you are with you throughout this journey and nobody else. Now, obviously, you have your support systems along the way, but throughout this thing, it is you with you. You're not against yourself. You're not competing with yourself. You're not competing with others. It is just you going down a path in life to just grow and flourish into that better version of yourself, because honestly, that's what it's all about. All we are doing is growing into that better version of ourselves. The whole entire life experience is about evolving. Closing it out with this. I read a book recently. I cannot remember which book it was. I read a book here recently that really helped me realize that I'm winning right now. And you are too. You are winning right now. And after I say this, you're going to be like, you know what? You show right. I read a book here recently that said, why do we continuously base our happiness off of a moment of success? So obviously all of us have goals. We all have personal goals and aspirations and things that we want to do. But why do we constantly find ourselves putting our happiness or basing our happiness off of hitting that moment? So basically what it was saying was to stop basing your happiness off of hitting a certain moment. So people say, I want to go viral. I can't wait to go viral. Okay, you go viral, then what? People say, I can't wait to hit 10,000 followers. You hit the 10,000 followers. Now you're like, well, now I can't wait to get to 50. I got to get to 50. So we base our happiness on these moments that last literally just for a moment. You hit that, okay, so one of my goals, obviously, is to get my first plaque on YouTube. I want my 100K silver plaque. Yep. Imagine it. You see it right there. I see it. You see it. I know you see it. Anyway, I want to reach 100K on my YouTube and I want my silver plaque. That's a goal. But I can't base my happiness off of that one particular moment. Am I going to be ecstatic in that moment? Yes, because that shows me, girlfriend, you did it. Like, you really stuck through there and you did it. You made it happen. But receiving that plaque and making my little 100K post, that's going to last me for a moment. And then guess what? I'm going to go right on to the next goal. Like, okay, I want to reach, 250,000 followers or subscribers. You're always going to hit a goal and then reset and hit another goal. And then reset and try to reach another goal. So your happiness cannot be based off of moments that literally last only for a moment. You are winning right now. I am winning right now. And I realize that now more than ever. And my happiness has changed like a lot. My happiness has changed. My mood has changed because I am finding that regardless of what the moments are, my happiness is based on how I feel right now. That is the video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Y'all see, I tried to contain my silliness today because y'all know, if y'all have been here, sometimes it's not easy for me to contain, okay? But I really I wanted to be serious about this message though, because like I said, this was important to me and I really wanted to, you know, share that with you guys. So that is the video. Thank you again. If you have not done it already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below, baby. And also make sure that you are hitting that notification bell as well, so you can see when the videos are going up on my channel. Bye.